Hey everyone, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and to the UkeStuff podcast. In this episode, I just simply wanted to sort of recap what I've been working on in the past months. If you've noticed, I've been pretty busy and I have not posted a lot of content. So let me talk about the things that have happened. I'll try to make this brief and just sort of give you an update so you know what's going on. First and foremost, I'm holding up my iPad right now if you're listening to this. My iPad is great, love it. It's going to eventually need to be replaced because Apple keeps doing new things with the processors and adding new technology. But the application I used, which is called LumaFusion, ended up sort of crashing on me and I couldn't open it. So LumaFusion had me rename a directory. That basically caused me to lose all of my files, sort of. So as a result, I had hundreds of projects that I had been working on in various stages. Some were complete, waiting for tutorial. Some were in their infancy. All that stuff is backed up. LumaFusion does have a pretty good backup, but the entire directory was lost. And to be honest with you, I can't remember what I've finished and started and where things are at. So LumaFusion was very, very helpful in helping me sort of get a list of what was on my device, but still that really caused me to lose some motivation in the work that I was doing for a while. So that is probably the biggest contributor to my lack of new content. As an example of that, last August at the Silver Creek International Ukulele Carnival, I have a friend there, Rhonda, who asked me to sing a song, Making Love ukulele style, with her. I'd be doing the backup parts with her. And I was happy to do that. Well, we ended up not being able to do that, but I wanted to make a play along of that. And that was one of the songs that got lost. So I went through and tried restoring those and kind of looked through them really on a cursory level to see how things were doing. Everything looked okay, so I uploaded it. Well, it turns out I had some comments from baritone users, baritone ukulele players saying, hey, the chords switched to G-C in the middle. It's wrong. Fix it. And with that, I went and looked, and sure enough, in the backup that was saved, all the chords hadn't been changed yet to baritone. So then I just recently uploaded a new version of that to the channel, but it took a long time. So now I'm not only having to figure out what I haven't finished and completed, but then as I bring it in, I'm almost having to recreate it again to do it, and that's really hard to get the morale up for. So that was one major loss in what I've been working on. Likewise, I've been making a lot of content this year for my school rather than for things that can be used outward. Whenever I make content out of somebody else's content, I can't share that. I can't share somebody else's content legally. So if I'm working on recorder play-alongs and it's not my music, it's not my original source, I can't share that with the public. So I've been making every year a lot of recorder play-along videos. In fact, I've got nearly 400 that I've created for my students to use, and that covers 2 years of instruction on a recorder. But then our second grade group really needed a challenge. So I do recorder with third and fourth grade, then teach ukulele to fifth grade. But my second grade group really needed something beyond a lot of the Feierabend stuff that I use. In grades K through 2, kindergarten through second grade, I use John Feierabend's First Step book as sort of an instruction manual for teaching. That's the core of my content, although I teach other things around it. At the end of second grade, they're ready to move off of that. And John would then teach something called conversational solfege, which I didn't want to get into. I wanted them to actually start playing. So I found this instrument. And in my hand, I'm holding sort of a tear-shaped instrument called the ocarina. You might know it from Zelda, the Ocarina of Time, and so forth. This one that I'm holding is what they call a 6-hole ocarina, 4 finger holes and then 2 thumb holes. It's actually a Englishman's invention, I believe from the early 1900s, so that you can get most of your notes by playing. This is what I have my second graders playing. our parent-teacher organization bought me a set of these so that every kid could be playing an ocarina. And they are machine washable, so they go through our school dishwasher when they're dirty, and then they're ready for the next student to use when they're dried off. But you get the scale as you go. Ultimately, my second graders only learn to the note G, so it's a C-based instrument, so they only got to G. But what I've been using are the play-along videos that were created by Music with Mr. Gray on his YouTube channel. He's been a guest here on the podcast, and putting colored notes that match sort of the boomwhacker notes, and then also six-finger ocarina diagrams. Now, this idea comes from a teacher on the West Coast, and that would be Lavana Zeller-Williams-Bracci, and she runs a website called zellerware.com. And she sells the 6-hole, and I'm going to reach over and grab a 12-hole ocarina as well. And she is doing away with recorder. I'm not ready for that yet, and I'm not sure if I want to move away from recorder. Not closing my mind to it yet, but I'm still, I still like teaching recorder a lot. But the 6-finger ocarina was incredibly helpful with my second grade students. It gave them a real focus. We started that about mid-year to the end of the year, and it worked really, really well. The 12-hole ocarina has, holding it up right now, is also sort of, I'm not sure what you'd call this shape, but you have 2 thumb holes on the bottom, and it's not quite linear as you play it. And I'm still getting used to how you hold it. Not totally comfortable holding this. Then again, I'm a tuba player. So it's linear up to the G, so it's also a C-based instrument. But then you have to sort of work around the ring finger that stays down, which I think would be a little difficult for my students. Again, on recorder, if you have ever studied recorder in your school, and there was once a really strong debate about recorder versus ukulele. The Chalmers method was actually sort of created with the intention of avoiding the recorder. Denise Gagne and James Hill sort of had a famous debate between themselves. Aaron Kai mentioned that on our podcast. Denise actually just passed away this past year. But I'm all for teaching recorder and ukulele. I think there's room in the schools for both. But with the recorder, you don't quite have linear with F either. And there's some different fingerings that you can dress depending on what type of recorder you have. But on recorder, many teachers start with B, A, and G, which is all left hand. Whereas with the ocarina, you would normally start on C. So I'm not really sure if I'm ready to make that switch yet, but it's definitely something that I'm open to. And Lavana is calling her whole thing the Ocarina Revolution, and she actually has a method based on that. My approach with the Music with Mr. Gray videos is very similar to that, except it's much more slow moving. Allows students to really get the notes before we move to a new note sort of situation. But that's been a major focus. Now, a couple other things I just wanted to mention that I've been working on the side. I'm pulling up a Zoom G1X4 pedal. This was a Christmas present for my parents. And I plugged this into, well, you can plug it into any electric ukulele, any ukulele with a pickup, but I have a Flight Centurion tenor that I plug this into and I mess with on a rare occasion. I'm not the kind of person to have a giant pedal or effects set up. This has effects, it has a looper, it has a sort of a drum beat sort of pattern maker. You can customize it if you want and customize the effects if you want. You can do that, and it's got a pedal that can adjust either like a tempo if you've got a drum beat, or some different effects like a wah-wah pedal you can press down on. It's really all that I need to play with my minimal interest in electric ukulele. So I have that. And then the other video that you'll have seen soon, in fact you probably will already have seen when this video is released, is a device I'm holding up that looks like a pencil sharpener. This is Enya's new string winder. And it works but I mean, there are some things that could be improved on it. I would still point you probably at this point to the Rode, which is more expensive. The Rode 3, I think, is the only one that you can buy now, or to what I use at school, which is the Jawum T2 Smart Tuner, which I think is still probably the best for school or large collection music store sort of settings where you want to tune 40 ukuleles at a time like I do. But anyway, so that's out there as well as some instruments that I've been playing with. In the near future, the goals are to maybe pre-record some videos because school's going to be just as busy again in the fall. And again, my focus has to be where I actually earn my living. With all sincerity, this channel earns a very small amount of money. Occasionally, I'll have another gig that pays a little bit, but this is not a significant contributor to my income at all. This is completely a hobby. So as a result, I have to focus on what is really my job, which is as a music educator. So once the school year gets going, I'm not sure if I can keep the same tempo. A lot of other good stuff in our lives and some challenges too. On a happy note, my 16-year-old is now driving, passed his driver's test, and we bought him a uh, well-used Pontiac Vibe, which is the same thing as the Toyota Matrix, rebadged when it was sold here in the U.S. And then my Prius, which I've had for a long time, and I had a Prius before it, which was totally totaled. It's another story, great story that I'll share sometime. But my Prius that has 235,000 miles on it, bought it with 59. Its head gasket is gone, and that is currently in the shop and being worked on. That happens with the third generation Priuses above 200,000 miles. So, you know, it's kind of funny to think with a Prius that you would expect it to keep going after 200,000 miles, but hopefully with this service it'll last a long time. They're making sure that it's done right. So yeah, so good things, bad things, but overall life has been good, and I hope that life has been good for you as well. Just wanted to share an update on the channel and on the podcast and what's going on. At some point, I'll work to see if I can get some more guests on the podcast or what other people I'd like to invent. I've tried reaching out to like Kate McCucci and William Macy to see if they'd ever be interested in talking ukulele, and I haven't been able to make any connections there. So if you know anybody, please let me know. And again, there's a lot of good content with a lot of amazing people. For example, Jim Beloff is currently working on the next uh, collection of songs for the Daily 365. That's going to have a lot more contemporary music in it. So Jim's been posting about that on social media. Just put the cover the other day, and they're working on licensing and all that stuff. I'm getting ready to teach a couple of sessions at the Silver Creek International Ukulele Carnival, a beginner sequence, and this year for the first time, at least one intermediate class. And I've actually got the materials all together for that. I've been working on that this past week, taking a look at what are the key skills that you need to go from beginner to intermediate to advanced. Not that I'm saying that I've mastered them all, but just what are those skills? And I've put them sort of together in one book. Now, every one of those skills, for example, I talk about claw hammer and what is the definition of claw hammer. Well, in reality, if you want to learn claw hammer, that is not a part of a session you learn it, you're going to use it the rest of your life. But it is sort of the thing that if you're a beginner and you want to go to intermediate playing, what aspects of intermediate playing do you want to pursue? Aaron Kime, really in the podcast that I did with him, really helped me think about that because I asked him, what do you think the next step is after a beginner? And in my mind, it had always been chord melody. And I still think that's a really good way to go for a lot of reasons. But Aaron's response was, well, I think it depends on what you want to do with your instrument. And he's not wrong. He's 100% right. So I'm presenting that session or group of sessions sort of as a find your own adventure or make your own adventure, ukulele adventure sort of package where I have some ideas of where we can go, but if we need to jump to other places, we can. So watch for that. The source materials may be available here on this website eventually, or for sure you could go to the Two Harbors ukulele group and look at the Silver Creek International Ukulele Carnival and download that resource in the future as well as with my beginner book that's there as well. All right, I think that pretty much covers everything. If you want to support the work on this channel, there are three things you can do. First of all, you can like the video. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thank you for making this content at buymeacoffee.com/UkeStuff. I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're going to have a great summer. And I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.